Hello guys and welcome back to my series Road to National Master, where I will show you all my games until I reach the goal of National Master. And we are playing the Brazilian Clássico, the second stage of the eliminations, and today is my first game with the black pieces, and I am against uh, a opponent rated 1743, so this was the third round of the game of the tournament, and the second round, as I mentioned in the previous video, I got a bye. So right now I've got one win and one loss. And so yeah, I was pretty optimistic because I knew this guy was an e4 player. I don't know him personally, but I saw from his previous games that he played e4. So I was happy to see that because I knew we were going to get into my very first Sicilian. So this being my first game of black, I wanted to make it count. So we start the game off with e4, c5, my normal Sicilian stuff, knight f3 as expected, knight c6, d4, this is all theory, c takes, knight takes, and here I like to play g6, which is the accelerated dragon. First of all, I don't play the dragon anymore because I found that to be a bit too slow, so I preferred the accelerated dragon. For many years, I played also the hyper accelerated, but I made this repertoire transition, and now I'm playing the g6 line on move 4. So he plays knight c3 here, I go bishop g7, this is all very standard, and now the idea is that my bishop is hitting this knight, as well as my other knight, so he needs to find a way to defend this. And the typical way of defending is by playing bishop to e3 here. But my opponent played a really strange move here. Straight out the gate, on move 6 he played the move knight d e2. And I knew this to be better, but I'm not sure how better I was. Let me check. Let me just throw on an engine here. So Leela Chess 0 gives this the analysis of minus 0.1 already, so it's if you can straight out the gate stabilize the game and reach equality, if not a tad bit better, that's already going to be really good for you as black. So I knew I was very happy with this position. I was happy to see this, and the reason this is better for black is that now this knight, even though it's not attacked anymore, it stops white from developing quickly. So this bishop on f1, it can't really develop to any square because it's locked in now. What you can do is play bishop pawn to g3, bishop to g2, but that's going to take a bit more time, and it doesn't make that much sense since he has a pawn on e4. So this I was really happy to see, and I didn't see anything immediate to take advantage of this, so what I did was I just continued developing as normally. So here we have knight f6, f3, castles, and f3 is also strange because if you're not playing bishop e3, then there's really no need for f3. f3 usually comes in as an idea for if bishop e3 happens. So basically bishop f3, bishop e3 combined with f3 stops the idea of knight g4 basically, because the pawn protects g4. But since you're not playing bishop e3, what's really the point? The pawn on e4 is already sufficiently defended and could even be more defended with a move like knight e to g2, g3. After castling, he goes f4, completely pushing the king side, and I definitely thought that was better here. So now it was time to come up with a plan. And my first idea was maybe I should play queen to b6 to stop white from developing the bishop, because the natural square for the bishop in these positions is on e3. If I stick my queen on b6, then there's really no way he can play bishop to e3. So that looked good, and I had to calculate queen to b6 followed by knight a4 ideas, and I found that to be good for me. Not to play b5. So queen b6, knight a4. I was not going to play queen b4 check because that would help white. I was going to play a simple queen to b5, was it? Can't remember exactly what I thought because this game was a long time ago. but my idea was solid. Computer confirms it. Queen b6, and now queen d2. So another mistake in my eyes, and it's a mistake because you're not allowing your bishops to play the game, basically. Your c1 bishop can't be developed now, and your f1 bishop can't be developed also. It could to g2, but again, it doesn't really have any bright future on that square. So here I knew I was much better, and computer's saying I have minus 1.6 already, so I was really happy to see that. And I spent a long time thinking here. Here I spent a good, I'd say 7 minutes just to come up with a plan here, and what I came up with was an imprecision. The better move was to play e6 or rook d8, the engine says, but my move is the third best engine move, and it gives black a -1 advantage, so I lose 0.7, the computer says, so that's quite significant. And the idea is after knight e5, I'm threatening both to play knight takes f3, winning the queen, and I have also knight to c4 ideas. Maybe hitting this b2 square of my queen and the knight, and also gaining a tempo on the queen. So this was my idea. And apparently the better move here was d5, because after takes, we're not obligated to move the knight from this square. What we could have done is played rook d8, and this move I missed. I completely missed this move. I saw the d5 move, but I couldn't see this rook d8, and this would have been way better for me. Of course, if he takes my knight, I take his queen, and something like, let's say, pawn takes, and then I can either take on c6 or b2, both are good. Let's just say follow the engine line here, queen takes c6, also hitting f3 and the rook, so yeah, this would definitely be winning for me, and this was a possibility here. So of course he wouldn't play takes. Going back to this, he would never play pawn takes. He'd probably play something else like queen e3, let's say, try and trade off the queens, but still I'm very happy with this position. I would play this gladly, but what I end up playing here, like I said, is knight e5 straight away. Bishop to g2, he's developing and trying to castle, but the problem is that he can't castle kingside. Another idea of queen to b6 is completely dominating this diagonal, which means the g1 square as well, so he can't castle basically. Only on the queen side, but again, that's going to take a few tempi, and in the meantime I can break open the position. So with that in mind, I was thinking, okay, he is going to take at least 3 tempi to castle, whereas I can attack the center way quicker with rook to d8 and d6. But the better move here was just to play knight c4, which was a calculation of mine. I just thought that this was a bit hard to play after queen to f4. I really couldn't see what to do. Of course, you can't take on b2 because then rook b1 comes in and your knight is pinned and double attacked. Yeah, this was difficult, and the engine gives this line e5, which kind of makes my bishop bad, so I wasn't really happy about this. Queen g3, queen a5. So it's definitely not bad for black, but I couldn't see how this was super good for black as well, so I didn't stick to this. I was also calculating in this position ideas of sacrificing here with a quick checkmate, but that also fizzles out, so I didn't go for this. I was calculating knight takes, pawn takes, knight takes with the idea of queen f2 check. Queen f4 defends this. This is the reason I didn't play it. I would have to play d6, and the queen on f4 defends the f2 square, so it kind of fizzles. h3, knight e5, knight d5, and I stopped calculating here because after queen to d8 again, you have to go to d8 to hold on to your e7 pawn, otherwise he takes with check. So after queen d8, I wasn't really super happy about this. So instead, rook d8. which is a slight imprecision. We're back to equality again. This is dead even, just complete zeros. And here he had a really good move, which was g5. Since he's already attacking on the king side, why not maintain the pressure, keep it up, and keep attacking? After this move, I have to play knight e8. He has f4 now, just trying to steamroll me. Knight c4, queen d5, and knight e3 check would have been nice. Not check, we're hitting the queen, but we're threatening a check on c2, winning the rook. So he would have to take this. And now I've got the bishop pair, and this bishop is going to be an absolute monster in the position. So I would have been really happy to see this. He plays b3, which makes sense in a way. Strategically, it makes sense. You want to play your bishop on b2 and queenside castle. Unfortunately, he just never has this idea. It's just never going to happen because I'm always gonna have knight c4 ideas, and I hit the queen and the bishop. And if you play queen c1 defending, that's just not going to be good enough. It's really not. So you can't play bishop b2. So I was really happy to see this move because it justifies my plan even further, which was e6 and d5. Again, I have d5 straight away, which would have been better, but I miss it. I play e6, and my idea was basically if he plays bishop to b2, then I can just play knight c4. If he goes bishop to a3, then also I just go d5 now, and he can queenside castle. That's okay for me. I'm happy with that position. He does go bishop to b2, and now I play the typical knight c4, b takes, queen takes, rook b1, trying to get some counterplay. All of his pawns are defended, and he has the open file on the b file, but I'm just up. I've got the bishop pair, so positionally I'm happy with this. Queen a3, only move. h4, really trying to press the attack. Again, I wasn't scared about this. I felt I had to retreat my queen again, just to avoid any ideas of rook to b3 or knight to b5. So here I play queen to c5, followed by queen d3, and now d5. And the difference in this position is that it doesn't help me to play d5 in this specific position because my rook is undefended. So this was definitely a miss for me. This was a big imprecision by me. Better would have been just to play something like d6 and maintain the advantage. He really can't castle, he really can't press the attack that much more because I can always defend this position. It looks very defendable here. And yeah, black enjoys a very nice position in this d6 line. But again, d5, my rook is hanging, so I can't really take. But he helps me out. He plays takes. So this was also an imprecision by him. We have e takes, and then e5, which I was also happy to see. And I can't go knight to d7 because that would hang my pawn. So I go knight e8 here. Oops, spoilers. Knight e8, rook b5. So he's really trying to develop his pieces quickly, trying to get the initiative, and I was really proud of myself for finding this continuation, which I found. My idea was to play queen c7, and he can't capture the pawn with the rook, of course, and if he takes with the knight, which he does, hitting my queen, now my idea was always to play queen takes c5. Stepping inside of a discover attack, he can play either, well, he can't play these moves. This was my idea. He can't play it because no matter which square his knight moves to, I can capture the knight. If he goes knight to b6, then that's also going to be good for me because I have other ideas. So yeah, I found this to be good for me, and computer give this minus 1.48. He goes h5, and here I make a bit of a mistake. Here I play a6, hitting his rook, trying to get it misplaced, and following this idea of maybe winning the knight by not allowing the rook to defend it on this line. The better move here would be knight c7. The idea being that he can push my queen away, that doesn't really matter, I'll just move back. And once he captures, I can capture his knight with my queen and hit his queen. Queen b3 to hold on to his c2 pawn, and I take the g4 pawn which hangs. So this would have been really nice to see in the game. Then I get this check at the end of the line. Unfortunately, I go a6, and this again equalizes the game. This is now zeros, and he finds a really good move here. He finds f4. Why is f4 good? Because remember that bishop on g2 which wasn't doing anything? Now it's actually doing something. It's opened up and it's defending the knight once more, and that kind of kills the ideas I had earlier on, so I can't really play what I wanted to play anymore. And yeah, that also hits my rook on a8 through an x-ray, and it just makes the position that much more complex and better for white. So here I need to go queen d6, and after queen d6, rook b6, I would take, he takes, rook takes queen, pawn takes, rook b8, knight takes, rook takes, and this position after bishop takes and rook c2 is dead equal. It looks like white is up a pawn, but so white is up a pawn, but it looks like white will maintain this pawn advantage, which they won't, because our rook is hitting this a2 pawn, and their bishop is hitting this a6 pawn. But if you capture here, then there's simply rook takes a2, and you have to move the bishop, and once you do, I've got rook a1 check, winning the rook. So this would definitely be, well, I guess you can play bishop takes, bishop e7, defending the rook, but I just think that's dead equal then. So bishop e6, sorry, queen e6 is what I played here. I didn't play the queen d6, I played queen e6, which was a bit of an imprecision, but after f5, again, my opponent helps me out a bit, and this f5 push wasn't good for him. So I calculated this g takes line, which is what I play. G takes, queen e5 again, so now I've regained the e5 square. And my opponent was kind of stuck here. He spent a lot of time. He still had a ton of time on the clock. He really had a lot of time, more than me for sure. But here he plays the losing move, knight e3. And this move is losing, because I have a very simple solution. If you want to find the winning move here, pause the video, I'll give you a few seconds. And while you do that, let me just show you guys a different line. So you could play rook c5 here, in this position, which would be the better move. And once b6 happens, knight takes b6, queen takes, queen takes, queen a5 check, important move here, very important move. And he'd have to play queen d2, queen trade, and this would be an equal game. If you go king d1 in this position, if you're wondering, then there's bishop b7 attacking the queen, and the queen can't defend both the b6 knight and the g2 bishop, so this would be a win for black. And going back to this position, if you found the winning move, congratulations. It's queen to a1 check, king f2, rook takes, rook takes, rook takes on e3 first, because now he's forced to take the rook on e3 back, and his rook on b5 still hangs. So he captured that now. And this is just winning for black. His pawn side, his king side pawns are completely shattered, and the queen side pawns as well. And there's really no way that he can hold this with a rook down. So well, he's not a rook down, he's a bishop down. Rook here, trying to find some counterplay. I just push this pawn to stop any ideas of him pushing h6 himself. King e4, rook a4 check, King goes back, so his king is completely cut off now. All I have to do is develop my king into the game, trade off some pieces, pick up the pawns, make a queen, and checkmate white. And that's exactly what I do. I'm picking up the pawns, getting my king into the game. We maneuver around for a bit, and props to my opponent for playing on. Most people would not. Most people would resign in this position, but he played on till the very end. So not the very end. He does resign at some point, but he plays it out for a while. And knight c4, bishop attacking the knight. Knight jumps back in, but now we walk into this position where his knight really doesn't have many squares. Knight c3 check, and I pick up the knight, pick up the bishop, and he resigned in this position. So that was my third round of the second stage of the Brazilian Z Classical. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll be back next time with the fourth round. And let me tell you guys, I'm getting everything confused, man. I'm saying everything backwards or not correct. I'm not sure why I'm doing that. Probably just the camera stuff. So anyways, let me tell you guys, almost said it again there. So this was the craziest tournament I've ever played, and up to here it was all very normal stuff, and from the next round on things get really crazy for me. Like it just doesn't make sense to me how so many things could happen to me in such a short period of time. I'm not talking about chess, I mean like just random stuff happening to me this tournament. So stay tuned for that, and I'll let you guys know what it is. Again, hope you guys enjoyed, hope you guys learned something, and yeah, stay tuned for next game. Bye.